Hello, everybody. This is Justin Case of American Newscape, rejoining our friend, coach, mentor, transformational guy, Jeff Griffin of Griffin Motivation, back for another installment of American Awesome. Hello, Jeff. Welcome back to American Newscape.
Oh my goodness, Justin! It just seems like yesterday, but I love this. My son taught me a valuable lesson one time when I was young. He's like, "There's long hours and short hours, Dad," and I thought that was pretty profound because for a 2-year-old, especially. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, what's a long hour and what's a short hour? So I asked him, I'm like, well, what's a long hour, son? Without hesitating, he's like, church. I'm like, okay, yeah. Absolutely, that can be a long hour, especially for a 2-year-old. So I'm like, well, what's a short hour then? He's like, Pokemon.
Pokemon.
And so what I'm saying here, Justin, is it feels like a short hour or a short day or a short period since we've chatted, and I'm just honored to be here.
Well, so what does that throw us into the Pokemon category per your son?
That's right, man. This is Pokemon.
Well, but I consider these time flies by when we're doing it, and I consider the chance to interview valuable, and it's almost like it touches my soul in a way. So maybe it's a little past Pokemon for me, but it also seems like it was too long ago that you and I were talking. So that being said, Jeff, how have you been and what's been happening?
Oh my goodness, how have I been and what's new? Right?
Great.
I am. Just just got back from New York, and that was an exciting ride. I went there and spoke at David Meltzer's private event and met with some pretty influential and pretty amazing people while I was there. I took the red eye Wednesday night, got there Thursday morning, spoke Thursday evening, and it drizzled a little bit. And I wasn't flying back home until the next day at 8 p.m. So I had a day to spend in New York. And so I'm in my wheelchair. I went to the west side where they have that trail line. They turned this, what is it called? The train line, that's the elevated train line, into a nature path, and I'm going along enjoying myself. Can't believe that I'm in the middle of this great big huge city enjoying the nature and whatnot. Get to the end of the line, get down on the ground, run into this woman who needed to hear what I had to tell her. She was just sitting there talking with her friends, and I come out of the elevator, and she was talking, and we made eye contact, and I'm like, whatever. I went over and ate my protein balls. They're not bars, but they're balls.
Balls.
And I'm eating them and enjoying it. And then she comes over, and she's like, you know how you want to get somebody's attention without just barging in? She's like, oh man, they don't have garbage cans like they used to anymore. And I'm like, that's kind of weird. But I'm like, hello, how are you doing? And started a conversation. And she's like, well, what are you doing here in New York? And I'm like, well, I'm a speaker. I speak all over the world. And she's like, well, what do you speak about? And I'm like, well, I address the elephant in the room when I come out on stage about how good looking I am.
Yeah,
And
exactly.
she's like, I know, that's what I told my friends. And I'm like, well, I didn't hear you say that, but I'll take it. And I will absolutely accept that compliment. But what was neat is, just spending a few minutes with this woman, I could tell that she was so hurt, like mentally and emotionally, and like a lot of us are. And I just simply looked at her, looked into her eyes, and hopefully I didn't like scare her. And sometimes when I look at people, they feel like I'm going inside their soul, and I'm not. I'm just looking at them. And I remember looking at her, and I'm like, listen, I'm gonna call her Lisa.
Okay.
I'm like, look, Lisa, you are so much more than you think. And that simple statement right there, that simple phrase, tears formed and started, coming over her cheek. And what's interesting is so often we forget how important we really are, and how the world needs to hear the song that sings inside our soul. The world needs to hear Lisa. The people around Lisa need to hear her song. there's almost 8 billion people in the world, and not everyone wants to hear my song, not everyone wants to hear my message, not everyone wants to hear your message, Justin, and that's
What?
okay.
What? They don't?
Yeah, I know. We want them to. Everyone's like, "Well, who's your message? Who's your message for?" I'm like, "Everyone," and they're
Exactly.
like, "No, it's not." And I'm like, well, "Okay, whatever." I still think that it's for everyone. But it was awesome. It was amazing. And so here I am in New York. I come off this little trail. Boom! I come down. I impact Lisa, and then I go along the water line towards Ellis Island and the Statue of Liberty, and then I kind of cut over to the World Trade Center, and I stop off of that church that's right next to the World Trade Center, and I head over to the Brooklyn Bridge, and I go back up to Washington Square through Chinatown and the Little Italy, and I just got to experience New York, and I got to experience the people that I passed. And what was interesting is, at least what I observed, is most of New York is similar to Lisa,
Yeah.
to where they don't really think they have a purpose or a passion, or they're not giving their heart a reason to beat. They're barely breathing and calling it a life. And so that's what's new. That's what I've been up to. And I just want to just remind our listeners that, listen, give your heart a reason to beat. Live life to the fullest. Live a life that it takes your breath away instead of barely breathing and calling it a life.
Well, leave it to you, Jeff, to find something good in New York. I mean, most people from other parts of the country, when they get back there, they start counting the minutes when they get to leave, and they wonder why they're there. And a lot of them are overcome by the smell of urine. And they could have called that city these days the urine capital of the world. I mean, it is prevalent, but that's a great story, and it's a testament to you that you recognized that and took the time to talk to this woman. And I'm a little surprised that her pickup line is, "I'm looking for a garbage can," but maybe that's a big thing in New York. I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I don't know either. But I didn't look twice. Meaning,
Right.
she's not my type, and but I do want to end with this. If I can, I wouldn't say end, but I do want to share this as well. Speaking of New York, I'm like exhausted because I think I went like 20 miles up and down and around, and I
Yeah, you
pushed
did.
everything. And I'm like, I think I just pushed a marathon here in New York. And so I get to my hotel, and I'm like, it's 4 o'clock. I've got 4 hours before my flight. But guess what? The Sky Club seems a little inviting right now. I want to relax. I want to eat. I want to, and so I'm like, I'm just going to go to the airport. So I get my Lyft driver, and I try to save a little bit of money. So I get the one where it says, wait a little bit and we'll knock off $5. But $5 for $105 ride to the airport is not that much of a discount. But
That's right.
this guy, boom, he hits it automatically, and he shows up. His name's, we'll call him Richard. Richard's from Malaysia, and I get in there, and we're going through traffic. It's only 13 miles to JFK, but it took 45 minutes. And sometimes I just want to be left alone when I get into a car, where after I get done to an event, I'm just like, okay, I just want to not be on.
Right.
But this time I'm like, no, I'm going to continue to be engaged all the way until I get home. Because when I get home to the airport, sometimes my wife comes and picks me up, and she can feel the anxiety and feel the gunk and the yuck that I've attracted and I've received from other people. And sometimes, and she's like, ooh, but last trip, she's like, ooh, yes, I can feel something's different. And so I made a conscious decision to be engaged the whole time until I go to sleep. And I'm engaged with Richard, my driver, and we're talking, we're discussing. Richard, he's going through. He has prostate cancer, and he just got it cut out, and it's been 3 months. It happened in May, and I know you're not supposed to ask people's medical things, but 2 years ago, no one cared, and they were like, "Hey, did you get the shot? Did you get the shot?" And so I asked Richard. I'm like, "Richard, did you get the shot?" And he's like, "Yeah, I got 3 of them." And I'm like,
Yeah.
and I'm like, well, just to let you know, there's some doctors out there that haven't been able to be heard. There's another opinion, and it's too late now for you. But there's other doctors that were saying that you shouldn't have gotten that, and if you did, the chances of cancer cells opening up and coming alive are pretty high, along with myocarditis. And he's like, "Oh, do you really believe that?" And I'm like, "Yeah, I do." I'm like, "You've never been sick before." He's like, "I know I haven't, but now you have cancer." "Yeah, I know." And he kept on telling me it, "But I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to die. I'm not afraid to die." But I'm thinking he has a little bit of fear of dying. And so we had a conversation, and I'm like, "Well, do you believe in the afterlife?" And he's like, "I don't know if I do. Do you?" Anyways, long story short here, Justin, by the time we get to the airport, the 45 minutes had gone by like that for Richard. And he's like, "Wow, that was a short trip." He had the Pokemon experience.
Yeah.
And when I'm about, when we pull up to the Delta terminal, he's like, "Griff, this was the best ride I've had in 30,000 riders."
Wow.
And then when I got out, I'm like, "Hey, look at me. Absolutely. This is amazing." And then I'm thinking, he says that to all 30,000 of his riders.
Well, it is a tip incentive business, that he's
I
in.
know. I'm telling you. I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." And for a minute there, I'm like, "Oh, yeah, no, I really impacted this guy's life," kind of like Lisa. But, Lisa wasn't looking for a tip. But, Richard was. But my wife and my son's like, "No, Dad, I really do think you probably impacted his life."
Well,
And
I don't think you can help but impact people when you bring when you bring your energy. And I do talk about our commonalities, but I think we were probably brought up this way, Griff. But engaging with people is a gift I've always had, and I'm betting you did as well, and I'm betting your siblings and your parents engaged with people as well.
yeah, I observed it from my father and my mother, and this may come across as unbelieving, like unbelievable. But when I was a kid, I was shy, painfully shy. I would walk down the halls of my high school with my head turned and looking away from somebody else. And I always joke that if I ever went to my reunions, like the 10-year or the 25-year reunion, and I show up to people, I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" They're like, "Who are you?" I'm like, they're like, "Oh yeah, Griff, that's right, you're Griff." And so I've made a conscious decision to be engaging, to be um, uplifting. I don't know if I've ever told you this, but my desire, Justin, is, at the end of my life, I want people to remember me as a man who lifted their spirits, lightened their loads, and loved them.
Well, I promise you this: everybody's going to remember you.
Yeah, absolutely. That wheelchair is hard to be is hard not to be remembered, right?
Well, no, I don't. I still don't see you in a wheelchair. That's not. You're just not. You may
Yeah.
be, but that engagement, that is such a wonderful gift that you can give to people, just helping them enhance those skills. It's one thing to tell people to engage, but it's a transformation. Maybe that's what you are, a transformational coach, and that is such a wonderful gift you can give to people.
Yeah. Speaking of gifts, Justin, I know you mentioned that I had the dream weaving um, tool available at Udemy and some other places, but I'm going to send you that link and send the listeners who are listening here that I've got, because it's back to school now. I've got my master's in education and curriculum. I taught school for 17 years in the high school and collegiate level, and so I know a little bit about the school system. The education system needs some revamping. It needs some help, and I've taken some of the things that I've learned and some of the things that I've adopted and some of the things that I've taken as I go out and speak and travel the world, and have combined it into this program called Dream Weaving. It's just a simple little online course. it's not that expensive. It's typically $49 to get that. I know we mentioned that, and we had a little discount there. But it's the back to school. It's back to school, season right now, and I really want to help people get started right. I want people to, where they have been lacking in at times because of the school system. I don't want to come straight out and say that the school system sucks and that it's broken. And so what I do want to do, though, is I want to offer the listeners the first 100. That's
Okay.
all I'm doing here. It's the first 100. They go click on that link. They go and look at it, and want to start right. I always say that it's, to start right, it's easy to go right all the time. But if you start wrong, it may be a hard matter to get right. And what I want to do is I want people to get started right. It's the back to school season. I'm not saying that the listeners, are going to school, but they might be having a new job. They might be doing a new adventure. They might be doing something else. But anyway, what I'm saying here is, speaking of a gift, I want to gift 100 dream weaving opportunities for the first 100. And so we will put that link in there, and go get it and go check it out, because I'm telling you, if you start right, it's easy to go right all the time. And dream weaving helps you start right.
Well, thank you, Jeff. Basically, we start every day. So I think this is something that could work for any of us. Did you hear that inflection in my voice? Any of us.
Yeah, 100%, man. I'm like, I agree with you 100%. And of course, don't forget the Endless Possibility book. It's a perfect companion tool for that dream weaving. 90 days. It's the 90-day recipe for world record results, and it's really the basis of the Daily Dime. And I know I've spoken about the Daily Dime, but seriously, 5 minutes in the morning, 5 minutes at night. It's creating those holy habits and righteous routines that's going to establish your day off right. It's going to establish your quarter off right. It's going to establish your year off right. It's going to establish your new adventure outright. And so again, this could help you jumpstart your heart. It could give your heart a reason to beat. And instead of living life, barely breathing and calling it a life, live a life that takes your breath away.
Absolutely. Hey, Jeff, thank you once again. Do you have a final thought for us?
Final thought is, you are so much more than you think.
Yeah. You're exactly right. We all are. And let's everybody out there try and believe that today, and maybe wake up tomorrow believing it as well. All right, everybody. This has been Justin Case and Jeff Griffin bringing you American Awesome. Thanks for joining us. Remember, additional information and links are provided in this video's Read More. Today's the day to subscribe to this channel. Please learn more about Jeff Griffin and keep company with us at the Cool Kids Table.